My name's Kirstin and I came across to Tasmania about 5 years ago, mainly to study agriculture, sustainable agriculture. And so everything from a biodynamic organic vineyard to now working on an organic farm. And I found that the soil types and the climate in Tasmania was far more suited to where I'd come from. Having gone through the millennial drought in rural Victoria, having bushfires every 3 years and being on constant alert with the dramas around that. When you live on the side of a mountain with timbered areas, you are conscious of your risks. Now I find that the reality check is that Tasmania is not any different from any other part of Australia. We face the same challenges. We just need to understand the context of how we're going to deal with those, and the issues around lack of water or too much heat or not enough heat will affect all of us in terms of our personal and food security. And what we'll see is possibly more volatility, where people will actually come to that realisation that they are also part of this planet. They're not in a special bubble called Tasmania. And it will affect their finance, their insurance, their maintenance costs for their property or their farms, and it affect the pricing and the markets that surround those. I think that the impacts will be felt at all levels, but it will take a personal experience to get people to understand their own little drama. When I lived in Victoria, we had a 10-year drought that affected everything, including the trout fishing, what you could do with your irrigation on your property or on your farm, washing your cars. All sorts of areas of our lives that we thought were untouchable were suddenly being affected by that lack of water, including rationing, how long your shower was, and all of those kinds of things. So the ripple effect will definitely be felt. I don't think people like the rate of change, and that's what's going to scare them. The rate of change is going to be, people don't like change anyway, but it's that rate of change that's going to really start to escalate. I'm a former firefighter, volunteer firefighter in Victoria and in New South Wales, and the understanding of how heat stress affects the human body is not really that well known, especially with the younger people. So even working on the farm, I had recently a 21-year-old kid who was suddenly feeling nauseous and whatever, and I said, "You have heat stress?" "Oh, no, I don't." She didn't understand the physiology of what that meant. And so I think education is a huge part of this, to get people to sort of come to the space to say, these are the things that are going to affect you and here's how. That's a really important story to tell. How much they will affect individuals is a different matter, but they need to at least know the facts, and the science around it is really important to relay. I think the business community will be told by the finance and the insurance companies that they need to pull their socks up. The accounting industry is saying, we had no idea this was coming as fast as it is, and we are not prepared. We don't have enough people on the ground to do that work. They're not trained yet. But the other side to it is we've always had that magic wand of tourism to sort of patch up the economy whenever we think that one sector is not doing as well. So whether it be the demise of the forestry industry or the acceleration of the wine industry or whatever it is, the Tassie wine industry is doing quite well compared to the rest of the country. But that's not going to last forever if they can't get access to clean air, like no bushfires, or enough irrigation, because the soil types require it and they're not an irrigation system. So the cost of that irrigation, the cost of supplying that water to certain industries is going to come back and bite them. So these are some of the things that we are not talking about in the main arena that potentially will affect people's jobs, people's communities and people's livelihoods going forward. So the reality is actually something we need to face, and the reality is that we are going to have to move away from what we're doing now to a different way of being, a different way of living, a different way of treating each other, respect for our environment, because it is the thing that nurtures us. I think to grow together as a community to face these challenges is actually going to be a very important message. And everyone will tell it from a different context, and it's really important that you listen to everybody's story. I think the idea would be to never stop learning about how we can actually face these challenges together, and hopefully to be able to answer to our grandchildren, you know, this is what I did, this is how I made a change or helped to do something to create change. We have to make sure that we are accountable, because it's the now that's really important.